Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation.
It's on groupthink.
And it's ironic because
we're a group!
To kick off the presentation, we have a real-life example of an extreme consequence of groupthink.
There were, as there had been on this and past shuttle missions, delays this morning. This time it was Florida's freezing snap. There were icicles on the launch gantry, and there was a 2-hour delay until NASA officials were satisfied there was no danger. The family of Krista McAuliffe, the first teacher, the first private citizen to be chosen for a space flight, watched the launch.
And liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Now control. Roger, roll, Challenger. Good, roll program confirmed. Challenger now heading down range.
For a whole minute, the launch went as planned.
Engines beginning throttling down now at 94%. Normal throttles for most of the flight, 104%. We'll throttle down to 65% shortly.
Mission Control gave the command for the last burst of power to kick Challenger into space.
Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Challenger, go at throttle up. One minute, 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
All that was left were the contrails of the bits and pieces of Challenger.
These searches have not revealed any evidence that the crew of Challenger survived.
NASA rejected suggestions that the mission had been rushed to avoid the embarrassment of further delays.
I'm sure you're all wondering what groupthink is. Well, here's the theory at a glance. Groupthink occurs when in a group it becomes more important to come to unanimous decision than to carefully weigh out all of the options and choose the most effective course of action. This can cause groups to make premature decisions or even the wrong decisions, which can have repercussions and long-lasting effects. There can be many different reasons why people who object the decision don't speak up.
Assumptions in groupthink. Conditions in groups promote high cohesiveness, which is group members must strive to get along while placing an emphasis on the group's mission over an individual. So an example, there's no I in team. Group problem solving is primarily a unified process, so that means that group members are susceptible to affiliative constraints, which means group members hold their input rather than risk a rejection. Group and group decision making are frequently complex, which is group members must continue to understand various perspectives and thought processes amongst the team and consider them all when making a decision. Additionally, group members should not only understand the mission at hand, but also the people providing the input into the task. The presence of others can help or hinder the performance of tasks. You've all heard the saying, your team is only as strong as your weakest link. That pertains to that particular groupthink process. The dynamics and leadership's influences are all factored by the group members. It could be age, intelligence, competitiveness of the individuals and the team, and team members and gender, as including the various leadership styles. We're going to go ahead and reference to Chapter 5 in the Hierarchy of Meaning, which all of these factors into a groupthink processing. So the problems with the groupthink method are homogeneity, which is the group similarity. When group members are too similar in background, alternative collective decisions are not thoughtfully considered by everyone, and in turn facilitate groupthink.
So now I'll be discussing the structural factors of groupthink. There are 4 of them. So the first one is group insulation. It is when a group is unaffected or isolated by external influences. It also refers to their ability to be unaffected that may sprout from how frequently they meet with each other, the group members, and how infrequently with others outside the group who could help with the decision that may even be present in the group. The group may be discussing issues relevant to the outside world, yet the members are still insulated from its influence. The second structural factor is the lack of impartial leadership. This happens when groups who are led by individuals who prioritize their personal agendas. If an individual is leading a group, or he or she already has his or her mind made up or has a personal stake in the decision, group members might listen to the leader just because of the difference in their positions of power, even if the leader's solution is good or not. The third factor is the lack of procedures for decisions. That is when groups fail to provide norms for solving issues. When this happens, the rest of the members in the group may feel dominated by the voices of those who speak up and just choose to go along with whatever they say. Group members also may just follow what they've seen or experienced in other groups in the past. The last structural factor of groupthink is the homogeneity of group members' backgrounds, which refer to the similarity of group members' backgrounds, values, or beliefs. With no diversity of backgrounds, it may be difficult to debate critical issues.
There are some symptoms of groupthink. Congruence seeking, when the group tries to reach agreement in their final decision. Overestimating of the group, wrong beliefs that the group is more than it is. Illusion of invulnerability, belief that the group is special enough to overcome obstacles. Belief in the inherent morality of the group, assumptions that the group members are thoughtful and good, therefore the decision they make will be good. Closed-mindedness, a group's willingness to ignore difference in people and warnings about poor group decisions. Out-group stereotypes, stereotype perceptions of group enemies or competitors. Collective rationalization, situations in which group members ignore warnings about their decisions. Pressure towards uniformity occurs when group members go along to get along. Self-censorship, group members minimize personal doubts and counter-arguments. Illusions of unanimity, beliefs that silence equals agreement. Self-appoint mind guards. Pressures on dissenters, the direct influence on group members who provide thoughts counter to the groups. Here are some examples of the symptoms of groupthink. Overestimation of the group. People would say we're the best group. Illusion of invulnerability. People would say no one can beat us. Belief in the inherent morality of the group, and people would say we can do nothing wrong. Closed-mindedness. People will also say, I don't care about your opinion. Our group stereotypes, those guys are too dumb to talk to. Collective rationalization. Wrong? I'm not wrong. You're wrong. Pressure towards uniformity. You agree with us, right? Self-censorship. I'm fine. Illusion of unanimity. People who keep silent probably agree with us. Self-appointed mind guards. Don't worry about it. Pressure on dissenters. Look, are you a team player or not?
Here are some ways to prevent groupthink. Our discussion of groupthink may have given you the impression that all cohesive groups will be prone to groupthink, but this isn't true. Irving Janis notes that cohesiveness is a necessary but not sufficient condition of groupthink. How can group members learn to avoid groupthink, or at least work toward more healthy interactions? Well, Irving Janis suggests that groups engage in vigilant decision-making, which involves 1. Looking at the objectives the group wants to achieve. 2. Developing and reviewing action plans and alternatives. 3. Exploring consequences of each alternative. 4. Analyzing previously rejected action plans when new information emerges. 5. Having contingency plans for failed suggestions. Certain critics question whether Janis's recommendations inadvertently erode collegiality and foster group factionalism. To avoid oversimplifying the groupthink problem, Hart has proposed 4 general recommendations for groups who may be prone to groupthink. 1. Require oversight and control. This means establishing a parliamentary committee, developing resources to proactively monitor ongoing policy ventures, establish incentives to intervene, link personal fate to fate of group members. 2. Embrace whistleblowing, which is a process in which individuals report unethical or illegal behaviors to others. Voicing doubts includes avoiding suppressing concerns about group processes, continuing to disagree and debate when no satisfactory answers are given, and questioning assumptions. 3. Allow for objection. Protect conscientious objectors, which are group members who refuse to participate because it would violate personal conscience. Provide exits for group members. Do not play down the moral implications of a course of action, and acknowledge private concerns about ethical issues in the group. 4. Balance consensus and majority rule. Alter the rules governing choice.
relieve pressure on groups in minority positions, dissuade the development of subgroups, and introduce a multiple advocacy approach to decisions.
There are many different examples of groupthink applied in the real world. One of the most tragic is the 1986 Challenger launch, which ended in tragedy, and most people believe groupthink was a contributor. NASA was determined to gain more public interest at it as it had fallen in the most recent years. The launch had already been delayed over a year, and there was pressure to launch on January 28, 1986. Despite that, there might have been technical difficulties surrounding the launch. The launch ended up happening, and here are some videos to demonstrate groupthink in action. As we watch the video below, take note of all the examples of the symptoms of groupthink. There are some listed during the video, but there's also more that are present during the meeting about the NASA launch.
Yet another costly red faces all around space shuttle launch delay.
Why do group decisions sometimes result in monumental error? What drives groups to make decisions against their better judgment? Using the story of the Space Shuttle Challenger, this video explores the phenomenon of groupthink, in which group members seek unanimous agreement despite their own individual doubts.
Since Flight 17, we know something we didn't know before. The primary O-ring can fail completely.
The shuttle has flown 19 times, and it's come back 19 times. Our job isn't to run around like Chicken Little hollering the sky is falling. It's to keep that shuttle flying.
The Air Force estimates 29 degrees at launch tomorrow morning.
We have no data on O-rings operating at temperatures this low.
So determining if this extreme cold will affect the O-rings, and if it does, how much is critical.
So our recommendation is not launching until the temperature is at least 53 degrees.
It's my understanding that the solid rocket boosters are qualified by contract for operation between 40 and 90 degrees. Are the solids qualified at 40 degrees or aren't they?
What you're saying sounds like Morton Thiokol is establishing new launch commit criteria the night before a launch. Now, these solid rocket boosters have been operating under very definite specifications. You suddenly want to change them. At that rate, it could be spring before the shuttle would fly. My God, Thiokol, when do you want me to launch? Next April?
Our charts may be inconclusive, our data insufficient, but everything we do have shows we'll be safe for launching at 53 degrees or above.
That's clear. That's absolutely clear.
It's time to make a decision. Bob, take off your engineer's hat and put on your management hat.
Does anyone in the loop have a different position?
Even though we had some concerns about the low temperatures, we now recommend proceeding with the launch.
With this powerful video, viewers will learn how to avoid unwanted organizational actions by making decisions that truly reflect a team consensus.
Congratulations, you just learned about groupthink.
Let us know in the comments a scenario that you've experienced related to groupthink.